Facebook notification to pop in. And any second now, that'll pop up. There we go. There we go. Come say hi, Leanne. Yeah, just for a second. Hi.
Hi.
If you haven't met Leanne yet, this is Leanne. Leanne is our astrologer for Witches Seaflint, and on Sunday nights does our weekly astrocast. Last night's was amazing. There was a lot of movements, a lot of placements, so it was a long one, but it has so much stuff. And people were asking all kinds of questions, not just me. So it was a really, really great night. If you go onto our Facebook page, just make sure you check our videos, and the one from last night is listed. If you know your sun sign, of course, I hope you do, because that's your birthday, and it's kind of important to know that one. But if you also know your moon and your rising sign, you can listen for those and see where all the funky stuff is going to be happening, especially since we're in that Venus retrograde shadow.
Yep, and that is going all the way until February the 3rd, and then it's going to stay there all the way until March. So it's a very important video if you want to know what's going to go on until March. So just keep that in the back of your mind, okay?
That is a really long retrograde.
Yes, it's one of the longest ones. 40 days, 40 nights.
We better be running through Jerusalem after that one.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know about that one. It's real. I mean, it seems, that seems extreme. And I know that like Saturn retrogrades go really long, like 6 months, and Jupiter retrogrades go really long, like 6 months. But this just seems more.
Yes, it does seem like a lot because it is going so slow. Like, it's been going not even a minute a day for the last month. So we kind of been feeling this energy for more than a month. I would say even a little bit longer, but it doesn't go retrograde very often. It's every like 2.5 years. So it's a big deal when it goes retrograde, of course. And it's just a huge energy to pay attention to. It's not a background player. It's someone that's up front and in your face. So
It's the A-team.
yes, exactly.
So I'm so glad you got to jump on this one, and we got to talk a little bit about astrology, because that means that, you know, since we're slowing down, it's a good time to read a really good book. So we are doing the Yuletide Ghost Stories. We did this last year and had some great authors that are local that joined in, plus we added this book in. And this one, I had to bring it in again. There's a collection of short stories by Robbie Mori in this one, and the stories are just phenomenal. The setting is a book club, and they're getting closer to the holidays, and no one is really wanting to talk about the book because they have other things that are weighing on their mind. So giveaway, we talked about there would be a giveaway. We are going to be giving away a copy of this book for our Facebook as well as for our TikTok. So this is the book, and I actually have business card in here as well as marking off where we're reading. Also, because I can never tell if my Kindle is going to cooperate. It's just kind of persnickety that way. So we have this great book as a giveaway. With this book, you're also going to get 2 samples of our brand new, haven't even been released yet, teas, which is our Witchin' in the Kitchen. That's the herbal pine needle tea, and our Witchy Little Hobbit, which is the Big Red Robe oolong blend. So without further ado, we're going to get into the Ghost Stories at Christmastime by Robbie Mori. We read last year Peter's story, so if you want to catch on our Facebook page and go to that particular story, that is probably one of the creepiest stories I've ever read in my life. And it was short, and I left it just having this overwhelming feeling of, I kind of want to go to the Hamptons now. I'm hoping that Laura's story is just as involved. I have not actually even read this one ahead of time. I did read Peter's story, and it grabs you. The way Robbie writes these stories, it just grabs you in a way that you really do feel like you're there. So again, this is the premise of these are a bunch of friends who are sitting around at a book club during the holidays, and they're talking about some of their past stories. And it's kind of curious that they're all sitting around talking about ghost stories at Christmas time, because this used to be a huge pastime during the holidays. They said that whenever 3 or more people that were together would always gather and tell ghost stories. Now some of the remnants that we have left are just from Charles Dickens, but there's a long string of them from authors you would never even expect. I mean, the Bronte sisters even have some Yuletide ghost stories. There's so many wonderful collections, and I shared a video earlier on both TikTok and Facebook showing some of the books that we're going to be reading from. So that way you have a chance, if you would like, to grab a copy of your own and read along and maybe start a tradition of your own. So without further ado, we're going to read Laura's story. Before you start sniggering, I didn't have a drink. The office started to wind down around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and there were expensive canapes and lots of cake and drinks. But I stayed away from the alcohol. Just wanted to get that over with. You know, I just wanted to get home and wanted to get this whole Secret Santa thing over with. It was excruciating having to feign interest in others' Christmas plans when I barely talked to them during the year. The karaoke was the final straw. I slipped out, clutching my Secret Santa gift, clearly a box of chocolates. I'd probably just recycle it to my neighbors. Outside was raining and people everywhere running their last-minute errands as shop shutters were beginning to come down. Last trains were imminent, so I decided against stopping for a hot chocolate in a festive cafe by Chancery Lane's tube station. My light coat over chiffon blouse wasn't quite enough to keep me warm, so I hurried down the steps to get my train. I had just missed one and was immediately swallowed up by a crowd of cheerfully rushing people upstairs. I pushed my way through and found myself alone on the platform. I looked up at the information screen and saw that next to the train would be in about 8 minutes. Not too bad, I thought to myself, and I sat down on the bench. A couple of tiny mice in search of food made an appearance. I wondered if I had any food apart from the chocolate and started to go through the contents of my bag, head down, intent on finding a little bit of tiny Christmas cake wrapped up from the office to take home. I hadn't noticed the woman standing at the end of the platform. Odd. I didn't spot her earlier, but then again, I was focusing on the contents of my bag at the time. She was looking straight ahead at the posters on the wall, it seemed. So I carefully threw a bit of cake as close as I could to the tiny mouse without her noticing. When I turned around, she was only a few feet away from me. I guess she felt as she creeped out, as I did, about the platform being empty and wanted to be near someone. The digital screen was still showing 8 minutes to the next train. Maybe there was signaling problems, I thought. Perhaps someone took ill. No matter. There was still time until the last train, so worst case scenario, I could go outside, get a taxi, and I could still go home. I took a sneaky look at my platform companion, trying to get a backstory in my head that would fit her. She was rather petite, wearing some vintage clothes, a pencil skirt, Mary Jane court shoes with a sensible heel, a dark green coat tightly wrapped around her with a belt. It didn't seem out of the ordinary. A lot of people like to wear vintage clothing. Her face was a little odd though. I mean, her skin was so pale, and she had dark shadows under her eyes, and she looked very tired or maybe upset. There was a strong lavender fragrance from her strangely calming and welcoming presence. As we're starting to sink in this stinky tube station platform, I checked my phone. It was nearly 5 in the evening, but the digital sign still said 8 minutes to the next train. I debated whether to go outside and just get a taxi. I turned towards the girl thinking that maybe I would ask her if she would like to share a taxi. After all, we were going in the same direction. She was gone. I looked at the other side of the platform in case she had gone down there. Nothing. When I turned back, I noticed she had left her handbag on a bench. I went immediately to it and picked it up, thinking I might catch her. I made my way to go back up the escalator, calling for her. Hello? Then I saw her. She had her back to me and was still standing in front of the stairs. Then she made her way up. I hurried after her, but she was fast, and I struggled to make my way after her. Wait, you left your bag. She carried on walking up the stairs until she reached the top. Then I saw her melt into the fire exit door. I stopped in my tracks, breathing heavy from the stairs and from being scared out of my wits. People don't just melt into doors. I know what I saw. I knew what I saw, and I was petrified. Her bag was in my hands, but she was gone. How could that be? I walked as quick as I could to the station foyer, right to the ticket window, and I could see the staff were having tea and cake and celebrating Christmas Eve. I put the bag down on the counter and leaned over near the glass. Excuse me? They barely acknowledged me. Excuse me? Somebody came, a TFL female attendant, and I paused for a second before speaking. I had to think exactly what I was going to say so I didn't look like a crazy idiot. Somebody just left their bag behind on the platform? Did you see her come up by any chance? The attendant looked at me sharply and said, "You shouldn't touch any unattended bags. Next time, just call for one of us. Where is the bag?" I turned my head to grab the bag from the counter next to me, but there was nothing there. Well, where was it? Where is it? She said impatiently. Well, it was just here. I'm sure I took it up with me. Maybe I left it on the platform. She growled and said, "Wait here. We'll have to look at the CCTV on the platform." She disappeared in the back, and I leaned against the counter, trying to see if I could see the screens through the gap in the door. All of a sudden, a strange feeling came over me, and I felt watched. And the foyer turned icy, and I could see my breath. And when I turned around, behind the barrier stood the woman from earlier. She stared at me and slowly turned to go down the escalators. "Wait!" I called after her, but she was gone down the escalators. I grabbed my Oyster card from the coat pocket without thinking and beeped the barrier open. I couldn't see her, but she went down, so I followed her back onto the platform. I walked up and down, searching for her and her bag, but there was nothing there. A voice came over the tannoy. "Lady in the black coat standing on the platform 2? I can't see any bag. All I can see is you." A wind rose from the tunnel, and I glanced at the train display board, and it flashed, "Train approaching." I looked down at the platform again. The girl was standing very close to the platform. I had a terrible premonition that she was going to jump. I can't explain it, but the anguish was in my heart. I started moving towards her as the train came and hordes of people got off. I pushed my way past the crowd, but the woman was gone. As everyone left, I made my way back up the escalators, and as I passed the ticket desk, the tube attendant from earlier beckoned me over. "Listen, lady, I think you'd better just get a taxi and go home. You missed the last train and that was it." I looked at her in disbelief. But I just saw her. She opened the side door. Too many office Christmas drinks, right? "Let me show you where the taxi rank is. I need to close the shutters anyway. Don't want anyone else wandering in the station at this hour and getting stuck in here. Not tonight." She guided me out, and as I stepped outside, the cold air hit my face and shook me back to reality. I just nodded as the tube attendant pointed to the taxi rank across the road. She took one more look at me and then took my arm and awkwardly said, "You're not the only one to have seen her, you know." My eyes widened, and I couldn't even mutter a reply as she continued. "I've never seen her myself. Maybe I'm not that way. I mean, sensitive, you call it, I guess. Not that I want to either, mind you. But a couple of my colleagues did, and a few times when they carry out their rounds checking for stragglers and the odd homeless person that snuck in at closing time for shelter. We've had a couple customers report seeing a woman on the platform too. Tourists, so they are understandably confused when She just disappears onto the track. Nobody knows who she is, but she's harmless, really. We think maybe she threw herself under the train at some point or something like that, though we've not found any evidence. I guess she wants people to see her and see what she did. It must mean something to her. Tears made their way down my cheeks, and I don't know why, but I guess a combination of relief that I wasn't losing my mind, but also a certain sadness. I couldn't imagine such a desperate existence, if you could even call it that. She shook my hand. You'll be okay. Just get yourself home. I've got kids to get home to. Happy holidays. I crossed the road and hailed a taxi. As it left and started to snow, I turned back to take one last look at the station there on the corner, bag looped over her forearm, and it was the woman I saw. I told you this one was really good. And I know these are shorter, but that's the entire point of these, so that you explore these stories for yourself. And this one has, let's get to the opening page. There are 9 stories. There's 9 in here. Last year we read one, we've read another one tonight. This book was only like $6 or $7, and you can actually get it on Kindle Unlimited for free if you have an Amazon Kindle account. This has definitely become one of my favorite books to read during the holiday season, just because there are so many great stories, and we all have our own odd things that happen during the holidays, and sometimes those stories need to come out. So these are all traditional ghost stories in urban settings. So they're set in normal, common time. We have a few more weeks of this, where this is going to be going on until January 3rd. We're going to be right here in the Genesee District Library. If you heard me rambling on about the Valancourt series of books, I ended up picking up one of those out of the 4, so I'm so excited about that. There are so many traditional and stories that never quite made it out of the Victorian era that have now been put into that particular book, so it's absolutely phenomenal. I'm so excited about it. So make sure you do visit us on our website at witchestflint.com. Check out our Etsy, also at witchestflint. 8 o'clock on Sunday nights is Leanne. And I want to thank Raven, who is helping us on the TikTok moderate and make sure no crazy stuff was going on. Come back and say hello, Leanne. So hello. Thank you again for joining us. Is there anything else you wanted to add?
No, just check out your local library as well.
Yeah, we're at the teen section tonight.
Yes.
And honestly, this one has a lot more books than some of the other spots. And they have actually a really good selection of stuff here. This is actually where we're going to be having our Tea Talks when Tea Talks come again in January, which is like the first time we've had that in 2 years. So we're really excited to be here and have this new partnership with the Genesee District Library. It's a nice, cozy, welcoming, calm place. It's actually a lot busier than I would expect too. So they've been so good to us so far. We're just really happy to have this space to do this where we can hang out for, a little bit and read some really cool books and do really cool stuff with you guys here. So, giveaway. How are we gonna do this?
I'm not sure.
We'll have to get Raven on here. All right. I will let you check here and I will just check the... All right. I do too. Hey, Raven. Tell me how we can do the giveaway on TikTok, because you've seen the comments going all the way through here and I have no idea how to do this. For our Facebook page, we'll just pull a random person from the comments and we'll do, let me just scroll through here. Do-do-do-do, do-ba-do-ba-do, do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. Who did I land on? I landed on my own name. Let's try this again. 1, 2. I'm just scrolling. Teresa, do me a favor and message the Facebook page, Teresa McKinney, and we will get that story out to you. All right, so who commented the most then, darling? Because I can't see on here, Raven. Other than you, I mean, you actually are one or someone. I mean, because I'm not able to see these comments. You might be able to scroll through more than I did. Yeah, it's all I see is you. All right, we'll save it for next time then. All right, thank you so much for joining us. We'll catch you again next time. Wait a minute, I hit the wrong button.